Most businesses running Google Ads all run into the same issue. Yes, you can be getting a steady flow of leads every single month, steady cost per leads, volume looks good on your leads, but your sales, they're completely all over the place. One month, yes, you're closing deals left and right, and then the very next month, even though you have steady performance in your ad account, your sales have fallen off a cliff. And what's frustrating is nothing really changed in your ad account. And if you look in your ad account, it almost looks like the leads are actually even month over month. So and then you start questioning yourself. Is it my ads? Is it my offer? Is it my targeting? Why is the lead quality worse than it was last month? Why am I not closing any deals this month? And the reason is actually more simple than people realize. That is because you're optimizing only for leads on Google Ads. So Google, they're very, very good over time. They will know how to optimize for leads, regardless if it's a high quality lead or a low quality lead. So unless you actually set up a distinction and you're able to tell Google Ads what a high quality lead looks like and what a low quality lead looks like, you will always be running this rat race where you're optimizing for leads. And sure, Google Ads is going to get you more leads or a steady cost per lead, but you're never going to be able to actually forecast sales. And month over month, it's going to be a total gamble when you run your Google Ads because you don't actually know if anything is a meaningful lead or not. So in this video, I'm going to show you the two things needed in your Google Ads account, not just to get your Google Ads to actually optimize for leads, but how do you get them to optimize for customers, high quality leads that lead to customers. You'll see for this client this year, I have generated over 3,200 leads. 317 purchases have come from those leads I've generated, and that's $1.6 million in conversion value or revenue I drove for this business. That's again, all because I'm implementing these two things. And if you don't have this feedback loop in your Google Ads account, you'll never be able to optimize and actually forecast revenue the way you want. So with that being said, let's hop right into the video. I'm gonna show you the number one thing advertisers miss or business owners just neglect when they actually build their ad account, but this one thing has consistently been the unlock for clients of mine. So the first main component, if you actually want to get leads that convert to customers, and you want to be able to predict this and train Google's AI to actually optimize for these high quality leads, it starts with offline conversion tracking. We all know that a lead customer journey in your lead gen process of your business is somebody submits a lead and somebody's typically closing them over the phone. Overall, the transaction is not happening online. They're not buying a toothbrush, they're not buying something small online. It's usually a bigger transaction that happens over the phone or some other software that Google Ads does not have access to. So what happens, I have a quick demonstration here on screen, is you have Google Ads and you're essentially training AI. Your conversion tracking is the central hub of Google Ads being able to learn things. And so what happens is you start training them. Whenever they get a lead back, they're reinforced that they're doing a good job. And so what Google Ads is going to do is they're going to look for people like that. From a targeting standpoint, from a demographic standpoint, from a search history standpoint, they're going to look for people who they can bid the most efficiently on to just get you a lead, right? The issue is we all know the conversion does not stop at the lead. It's again, you need a customer. And so it doesn't matter if it's a good lead or a bad lead, they're just trying to get you a lead. So with offline conversion tracking, here's how you train the AI and here's what's actually happening. You're essentially up top, you have Google Ads AI. You're still tracking leads, you're still tracking qualified leads, but you're also tracking customers. So now you're able to see your full funnel. And what happens is Google Ads understands each stage of these, and so they're actually able to optimize closer to qualified leads and then customers. They start to understand what a customer looks like, and you're telling Google Ads that a customer is worth more value than a lead and a qualified lead. And so Google Ads starts to prioritize getting people who will start their lead journey, yes, on a lead conversion action, so maybe a submitted form or a call, but who are most likely to also translate to a qualified lead and a customer. And again, I showed you, you can track all this in an ad account. I have leads, qualified leads, and I have sales that are being tracked, and you can track the revenue from those sales and tie it back to your Google Ads account. So you actually know what your cost per lead goal should be. You actually know what your ROAS in your ad account is, instead of just guessing and optimizing for a proxy like cost per lead. And so this is how conversion tracking works. I'm not gonna go super in depth in how to create these, but in most cases, what you'll do, I'll just kind of show you what it looks like in Google Ads. And so if you go to your Google Ads conversion settings, you just go to goals and then you go to conversion summary. So when you're here and you're going to set up your tracking, we're not tracking anything on a website. We're not tracking conversions on an app, but we are, and we're not tracking phone calls, but we are tracking conversions offline. And so you'll see they have an option for that. And then what you can do is you can edit your data source. What is the data source? This is essentially where you're gonna send your offline conversions to. So imagine if you have a CRM, let's say you're on HubSpot, And anytime you get a lead in and they close, in HubSpot, you're marking that person and you're updating their lead status to customer. And usually you're tying a revenue amount to that customer in HubSpot. That's usually a typical process for any CRM already. So all you'll do is you'll keep that process the same, but you're gonna link Google Ads so they have visibility into that. And then when you have a click ID attached to that lead and you mark that lead as a customer in your CRM, that information gets passed back into Google Ads and they're able to track it and attribute revenue to the proper campaign. So all you'll do is you'll connect a data source, and let's just say you had HubSpot. They have tons of CRMs you can have in here, or you can do a manual upload through Google Sheets. Again, this isn't gonna be a very in-depth dive on how to set up the conversion tracking, but just a word of reminder that offline conversion tracking is number one. It is 100% needed. And so all you do is you'd walk through the integration of HubSpot. It's really easy from there. There's tons of support articles to help you walk through that process. The second thing that you're gonna need to do, and these things pair hand in hand together if you wanna actually attract qualified leads that actually convert to customers, is I showed you this chart before. And essentially, Google Ads is gonna know what lead or what conversion action is most valuable because they're gonna have different values assigned to them, right? And the way you assign a value is you actually do it in that conversion section. Whenever you set up a conversion action, they have a tab that shows you, but you can actually select a conversion value. And it can either be dynamic, so let's just say you were an e-commerce brand and somebody bought a toothbrush, it would port that value directly in. So let's just say for lead gen, you have your CRM connected. Let's just say Jane Doe converted for $10,000. If she becomes a customer and she came from a Google ad, Google would attribute a sale for $10,000. If you had one for 500, to do the same. So that would be dynamic. But you also want to have fixed conversion values associated to your conversion actions. So Google Ads, again, can be trained to optimize for the best possible conversion action outcome. And so the way you do this, it's a two-part process. So you're gonna take all your lead actions that happen on your website. Let's just say, for example, you have a form submission and a website call, but apart from leads, you have qualified leads. And so what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna understand what is your close rate? Meaning, if I get a qualified lead, what is the likelihood, and you can look at past sales data, you should have this information in your CRM, that says if I get a qualified lead, there's an 80% chance that it actually converts to a sale. And so you're gonna wanna go over your close rate data for each conversion action. And yes, I'm just looking at website calls, form submissions, and qualified leads, but if you have more lead actions, then it'd be different. So let's just assume that you had all these set up. Well, the next part is you're gonna wanna figure out what is your average value per customer. And so let's just say for this particular client or business, it was $2,500. All these are gonna be fixed across. And then your conversion value is a simple function of your average order value, what is a customer worth, multiplied by the value of that lead event. So we know this website call closes at 10%, while 10% of 2,500 is $250. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna assign a phone call in Google Ads as worth $250 to you. Not because that's the true revenue associated with it, but because this is how you train the algorithm to actually optimize for the right conversion action. For example, let's just say this is a phone call or a form submission. We know that this is the lowest lead value for us. But a qualified lead, if we go back to our sheet, a qualified lead is worth $2,000. So they understand that, hey, if we can optimize for a qualified lead, we're gonna bring more value to this business. And ultimately, if we can get them a customer, we're gonna drive the maximum value for this business. So when you have, second part to this is after you set that up, the only way that Google Ads knows to optimize for the best and highest value conversion action, like a customer or a qualified lead, is because you have to use smart bidding. And my favorite is target return on ad spend. Let's just say you set up, this would be in the settings of your campaign when you're actually setting up your account and your actual campaign that you're wanting to launch. But let's just say you select a target ROAS bid strategy and you set it to 730%. Well, what Google's going to do is there's a very low likelihood that they're going to only bid and try to get you leads. They're going to try to get you high quality leads because they understand that can turn into a customer. And if they get you one customer, the likelihood of you hitting this target is going to be extremely high. Higher than you hitting that target by just only unqualified leads, right? And so that is effectively the second part to this. You have to have offline tracking, and then you have to steer smart bidding in a way that actually gives Google Ads insights to how valuable each conversion action is on your website. And then you pair all those with smart bidding like target ROAS, so they can actually optimize for the highest quality conversion action on your website. Those are the two things that most businesses or advertisers simply lack or neglect when they set up their account, because it takes a bit more time to set up. This is something that cannot be arbitrary if you set these up. You have to make sure that your offline conversion tracking is sound and there's no gaps in it. And then number two, you need to make sure that you're assigning the right conversion values per conversion action, or all of this breaks. And so if you're looking to actually scale your lead account on Google Ads and be able to forecast revenue month over month and then grow the actual tracking abilities and the targeting, these are the two things you need to set up. As always, feel free to reach out for a free advertising audit. Link is in my bio. Hope this helps, and let me know if you guys have any questions.